All right, fourth graders, today we're going to tackle these desert landscapes. I hope you're ready. I'm going to show you the techniques that I used to create mine, and then you're going to, by using some of those pictures that you've seen, you're going to create your own. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create what's called a horizon line. The horizon line is where the earth meets the sky. And you'll notice mine isn't quite exactly in the middle, it's up just a little bit higher. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build my arch, and I want my arch to stand out in this piece. So I'm going to start with some building blocks that are going to put my arch up higher. And I'm starting with some big stones, but after that I can just stack them almost like Legos maybe. And I'm just gonna stack these up, leaving some room at the top so that I can put my arch. And remember, it's gotta be big enough, chunky enough to hold that arch. So make sure that as you're drawing yours, it is going to stand up to holding that arch. And here goes my arch. And you'll notice that I try not to do too many straight lines because in nature there's really not a lot of straight lines. Most of them are pretty curvy or wavy. All right, so I have kind of my basic archway, and you don't have to have an arch in yours if you don't want to, but I really like the way that it looks. And in some of those pictures we saw some of these rock formations that are like in Goblin Valley down in southern Utah, and they have these balancing rocks just sitting on top, and it's pretty amazing that they've never fallen down. They have this perfect balance to them. So I like to add a few of those into my piece as well. Break up this middle section just a little bit. I really love to fill my space as I am creating. All right, so I'm going to let that be my rock formations, and because I love when the sun is either coming up or going down, I'm going to put my sun in here. And again, you don't have to do this. You can leave the sun out. Maybe your sun is high in the sky, so you're not going to see it in your painting, but I want my sun in here. So for my sun, I'm going to just kind of stick it right here. It's kind of hiding behind this block right here. And you don't have to put the whole circle. You might choose to have a setting sun and you're only going to see a part of it, which is fine too. Remember, it's your painting, so you get to be the one that decides. All right, so this is my background here. Above my horizon line, this is my background. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on my foreground down here. Now, because the foreground is what is closer to you, you need to draw everything bigger than these. Even though in real life we know that these rock formations are humongous, and these rocks that we're going to draw in the front are pretty small. But when we're closer to something, they actually look bigger. And we'll do a little tricky test in just a minute, and you'll see what I mean by that. So I'm just going to put some rocks down here, and I guess I kind of like the roundedness to them, but you could always do some more jaggedy rocks as well. I love to have overlapping rocks. I think it makes things more interesting, and I kind of like that jaggedy look. I think I'll go with that. I like to have the bottom flat because when it's up against the dirt, part of that rock's probably hiding in the dirt, and so I like to have it nice and flat on the bottom. We have kind of a taller one right here. There's a few rocks there. I think I'll even put some off to the side here, like in my original painting. I kind of liked the look of that. Maybe one big, huge one right here. Just kind of to frame that area of my painting. Okay, I think I'm kind of liking that. One thing I had in my original painting that I think is really cool when you come across them are these stacks of rocks. And it's obvious that these particular stacks of rocks were not made by nature. They were built by humans. And one reason that you might see these on a trail is that they are a trail marker. It is something that stands out against nature, and by standing out, they're able to tell where they've been and what the trail is so that they can get back to where they began. All right, so this is my little rock formation, my little rock garden down here at the bottom. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some plants that we have seen in the desert before, and one of my favorites are cacti. Cacti are really cool to see in the desert. Just don't touch them because they are pokey. So I'm going to have a little cactus kind of hiding back here in these rocks. And then I am going to draw one of these other kinds of cacti. They have more of a long, narrow leaf, but they're very light in color, and that helps the sun kind of reflect off of those cacti. Because the darker the colors... And I like to put these big flowers on here. It's a place to put a nice burst of color. While I'm thinking about it too, make sure that all of your spaces are big enough to fit your finger inside of. Because when we get to the color portion of these, we're going to have to be able to fit our finger into those spaces to blend in our chalks. So as you're creating this, make sure that you're thinking about the size. Everything needs to be big enough to put your finger in. That rock right there is going to be a little bit tricky, but I think the rest of them I can get into. Maybe my pinky will work there. Okay, so I've got a couple of plants, and I think I'm going to put one little critter in here just because I think that he looked really cool in one of the pictures that we saw. And I'm not looking at a picture as I'm drawing this, so you guys are more than welcome to, but I am not going to on this. I like to draw a little cartoony on my animals, which is fine. You can draw a little more not cartoony. It is up to you because it is your drawing. And I think I'll just leave it just like that. I am going to do some divisions on his shell though. Maybe just some kind of pattern work. Just because this gives me the opportunity to change my color patterns on him and make him a little more vibrant. All right, that'll give me some places to change my color. All right, the last line that I'm going to put on here is just a line to divide up my foreground and my background, and then I want some of this middle ground right here. Just kind of to show that we have a lot of distance between us in the foreground and that background. And you can kind of think of it as maybe it's the sand dunes in the background or what have you. So that is how I do my drawing. Last thing you need to make sure that you do is write or sign your name. I always sign my work in the bottom right hand corner. And you'll notice that artists sign theirs all over the place, but this is the place that I choose to sign. It's always kind of out of the way right there. Sometimes you may want to, depending on your art piece, you may not want to sign it until after you've done color, which is fine. It's your choice. But if you're not going to sign it until after you've done color, flip it over and make sure your name is on it somewhere so that you make sure that you get your drawing back. All right, I can't wait to see what you create, and the next video you see will be of us learning how to color these. All right, good luck.